What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and after over a year of delays, Wonder Woman 1984 is finally here. But for a lot of people, for a lot of DC fans, this is an incredibly disappointing follow-up to 2017's Wonder Woman. I watched it yesterday. I gotta be honest, this was an absolute mess. There's a lot of talk about, oh, woke this, woke that, Donald Trump this. I'll be honest with you, there wasn't a ton of that. There was a little bit sprinkled out, but there wasn't a ton of that. It was mostly just a bad mess of a movie, if I'm being honest. The first part of this video will be spoiler-free. Don't worry about that. I may get into some later, but the first half, don't worry about it. I'll let you know before any come. Let's just get right into it. Wonder Woman 1984 is a disaster, tanks on Rotten Tomatoes, box office, and reviews. Now, this is from Cosmic Book News. Wonder Woman 1984 is now out in movie theaters and on HBO Max streaming, and it's a complete disaster, which has seen its Rotten Tomatoes score and reviews plummet. Now, before this movie was released, just the people that got early access to it, we saw the critic scores coming back, and again, critic scores, take that with what you will. When critics love a movie, oftentimes it's absolute garbage. When critics hate a movie, sometimes it can be incredible. But this is just one indicator of what's going on right here. The first batch of reviews saw the Wonder Woman Rotten Tomatoes score at a respectable 89%. But now that number has dropped within 10 days to only 68%, with 266 reviews accounted for. Now, the ones that saw it before were all the ones that get the early access, the early screeners, the shill media, right? That's who gets those. And then once it was actually out there for anyone to review that saw it, that review score started to come down. The first movie came out in 93% positive amongst critics. Now, that one was very well received by both critics and fans alike. I think the audience score was in the high 80s, the critic score in the low 90s. When you look at it right now, this is where we sit. Not a whole lot of people have actually reviewed this thing. Again, it's hard to go see a movie in theaters, and a lot of people some of them are pirating it from HBO Max and watching an HBO Max. I haven't tried. I believe you have to verify your streaming subscription to be able to leave a review score. But right now, audience score 74, tomato meters 67% and dropping. I expect both those to drop. I watched this movie. It is boring. It is nonsensical. There are continuity issues through it. The only thing that carries this is Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. That's the only thing that carries this movie. There is very little action in it. The CGI is horrendous. It ends on this very, in my opinion, anticlimactic moment that lasts way too fucking long. But again, we might get in specifics of that a little bit later. For now, let's look at the box office. Now, we don't have a lot of box office numbers from here in the United States where I'm at. However, in China is a place that isn't being affected by the pandemic closures right now. They are open. People can go to China, and it's been incredibly disappointing. The box office isn't doing much better. If we take a look at China, where the closing of theaters is not a factor, Wonder Woman 84 is performing horrendous compared to the first movie, where it opened less than half of the estimates. And in fact, when you go to this, you can't say that it's because, oh, well, people just aren't going to the theater right now. Dante Lamb's The Rescue opened in first place. The Rescue opened to $36.3 million, nearly double Wonder Woman 1984's meager $18.8 million start. So, The Rescue, directed by Dante Lamb, doubled Wonder Woman 1984, this huge superhero blockbuster hit that it's supposed to be. The first Wonder Woman debuted in China to $38 million, on its way to a total of $90. At its current pace, the $200 million sequel could struggle to earn much more than a third of that total. They're projecting it at only $33 million in all of the Chinese market right now. That is awful. Now, I do think that this movie, and maybe the reputations of some of the people involved with this, may have been saved a little bit by the fact that this isn't in theaters all over the place. That we're not just going to be able to sit there and say, wow, look at these numbers, look at the box office results, what an absolute tank job, because we're not going to be able to see that happen. We can only compare it to China, and people are going to try to excuse away a lot of those numbers. HBO Max, we'll see what happens. I want DC to do good. I want the DCU to be good. But one thing that I was saying from the beginning of this is that I feel like people are giving Patty Jenkins way too much credit for what happened in Wonder Woman and the success of the original Wonder Woman. I think she did a great job directing, but you have to take everything into account. This was made at the same time Zack Snyder was very heavily involved with everything that was going on. And you can see that when you look at the full cast and crew. Directed by Patty Jenkins, Who wrote it, though? Zack Snyder, Alan Heinberg, and Jason Fuchs were the ones that were behind the story of Wonder Woman. No Patty Jenkins anywhere to be found there. She was a director. That was it. Zack Snyder did some producing work on that too, and there were even a lot of things back there talking about how much Zack had influenced the film and how involved they were all the way around, since he was doing so many things with the DCEU at that time, finishing up on BVS and doing everything for Justice League. Then you go to 1984, directed by Patty Jenkins. Writing credits, story by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. Screenplay by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. And you can start to see why this movie felt so much differently. Why this movie didn't feel really anything like a real true sequel or successor to Wonder Woman 1984. Quite simply, the same people aren't really involved. Now, I will say that Zack Snyder has been incredibly supportive of his fellow DC comrade, Patty Jenkins. Incredibly supportive of her and Gal Gadot, because he cast her as Wonder Woman. He was involved so much in that first one. He wants both of them to be successful. He has said, hey, listen, I love what you guys are doing. I've seen it. I think you guys are working great together. You're an awesome team. He said that during DC Fandom, and he's continued to support her publicly. Zack was not as involved in this movie as he was in the first one. That is so obviously clear. He is still a stamp-on producer because, again, he created Gal Gadot's character of Wonder Woman. He got Patty Jenkins involved in this entire thing, and this is still based on his character from the DCEU. But I think that is one reason why it just seemed so much differently this time around. This is if you put Patty Jenkins totally in charge of a project. Congratulations if you're looking forward to Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Good luck with that, I suppose. Nothing against her as a director. I just don't think she has enough resume. Someone name something she's done other than Wonder Woman. Please, I'm waiting. Let me know in the comments. Something of note. And I don't think you can really answer that. And I think that she was given a lot and a lot of responsibility. And to me, it kind of fell on its face, in my opinion. Hopefully she can take a lot and learn from this and everything, and that she does better the next time around for Cleopatra and then Rogue Squadron. No spoilers, but why Wonder Woman 84 is a big failure is that it had a complete... Well, I didn't even read this part of the article before I started. Is that a completely different tone than the first Zack Snyder-inspired Wonder Woman movie. The sequel is outright goofy, cringe-inducing, has lackluster villains and actors, takes swipes at men and Donald Trump, and is boring, has bad special effects and zero epic scenes. What a disappointment. I will agree with a lot of that. Now, to kind of finish it off here, I do just want to talk a little bit of spoilers. It's nothing major, though. The biggest problem with this movie, in my opinion, is that it was never supposed to happen. There was never a plan for it to happen. Wonder Woman was supposed to be a standalone introduction to Wonder Woman, explain what she's been doing until we see her in Batman v Superman. But no, Warner Brothers, the fucking dumbasses they are, decided to say, you know what? You know what we need to do? We need to do that again because that was successful. We want more money. So they said, Patty, you're in charge of this now. Do everything. Do anything you want. Just, make the tone just a little bit lighter and more hopeful. That's maybe what people liked about it. And she went off and she did her thing. They brought Chris Pine back. The way they bring him back in this movie is so stupid and so clear that he was never intended to be resurrected in this way. They just wanted that between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. They just wanted Steve Trevor and Diana Prince in there again. This is essentially a romance movie. There's not much action in it. And the action there is terribly choreographed. It's bad CGI and it's not interesting. That is the bottom line. I think that's one thing that is really suffering from the lack of Zack Snyder vision, if I'm being honest with you. And she wishes for him to return, essentially. He comes into the body of this other random dude. They could have just had him come back and not in a body of some random person, but that's what they chose to do. By doing that, they create this really weird thing where Wonder Woman has sex with this dude who Chris Pine is basically he is the soul of this man at this point. But the guy is still a guy. He still has a body. And in fact, he pops up later and has no memory of any of that. And imagine if they had done that with a woman in that place. You would hear people screaming about consent. You'd hear people screaming about how dare they do that. That's an invasion. That's basically rape. That's what they would say. And that is why I think that is really weird. And the other part of this is there was a little bit of, hey, all men are kind of crap. When Diana or Barbara are walking down the street, they're consistently being catcalled, accosted by men, even one that tries to rape. He tries to do the double rape of Barbara, of Minerva. That's essentially what we saw happen. It wasn't as overblown as a lot of people made it out to be. The Trump comparisons are there, but they're not huge when it comes to Pedro Pascal's character. Overall, the biggest failures of this movie are it's boring. The story kind of makes no sense. The CGI is just awful. I fell asleep. The big car caravan chase scene. I fell asleep during that, and I'm not the only one that happened to. Several people have fallen asleep during that. It should be one of the peaks of the movie. The biggest action sequence they had in this movie. You have people falling asleep. And overall, this is a story that didn't need to be told. They tried to create one out of thin air that doesn't really make any sense. And it is a big disappointment for me and a lot of other people. I can't say I didn't see it coming. I have kind of been talking about that, the lack of Zack Snyder influence, the influence from Jeff Johns. But at the same time, I wanted this movie to be good. Unfortunately, I would put it a notch above Birds of Prey when I'm talking DCEU. This is really, really bad, in my opinion. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I'm sure there's some people out there that actually absolutely loved everything to do with this movie. I want to hear from you as well. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.